What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'm going to take you guys through the ultimate guide to Game Week 3. So a lot has happened in kind of the week between Game Week 2 and Game Week 3. Just a couple of minutes ago, Benjamin Mendy officially suspended from Man City due to kind of being charged with a criminal offense. Man City were in the news again with Cristiano Ronaldo, who is potentially going to be moving to the blue side of Manchester. So good news, bad news for kind of Man City fans. Just keep your eyes on that to see how it affects them for their upcoming game against Arsenal on the first game of Game Week 3. But in terms of this video specifically, I'm going to take you guys through the usual watch list, be going over 3 players that I currently have my eyes on, then shifting our attention to the big man, Romelu Lukaku. Is he a player that you guys should be bringing in ASAP, or is it a little bit of a wait and see? What's my kind of opinion on the Chelsea striker? I'll be giving you all the scoop on him and what I think that you guys should be doing. And then also going to be talking about the usual kind of fixture review, looking at the attacking and the defensive fixtures, specifically just for Game Week 3. And then finally, looking at Captaincy, which I think for Game Week 3 is going to be quite an interesting debate as we look at Bruno Fernandes versus someone like a Heung-min Son, and also our favorite striker, Antonio from West Ham. So that's something you guys are interested in. Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So as I've done throughout most of the videos this week, I'm going to be giving you guys an update on the international break and this little bit of a dilemma that it's currently going to be causing. So if you guys have been living under a rock, haven't really looked at my content at all, the international break is going to be a dilemma because apparently a lot of clubs don't want to release their players to play for their nations because they will be traveling to red zone countries. And why this is bad is that once those players return back to the UK, they're going to have to quarantine for a period of 10 days, or at least isolate for that, and therefore they won't be able to play any football. And obviously Game Week 4 and Game Week 5 might come into those 10 days, so just keep your eyes on that. But the current kind of battle that's going on, we kind of have the FIFA president reaching out to presidents of actual countries where these leagues are being hosted to say that no, let the players play their international games and let the clubs release them at least for those international games. So there's been kind of a big battle between FIFA and the normal clubs, so it's going to be one that I think extends to quite late into the deadline. So I don't even know if by the Saturday deadline we actually get clarity on this issue. So I would just kind of keep my eyes, keep my ears open, be on Twitter at least so that you guys can get the most updated news as possible, as I think this battle is going to continue late into the kind of Game Week 3, and we might even get clarity only on about Monday or Tuesday after the game week has commenced. But now going on to the watch list, and the 3 players that I currently have my eye on are going to be Adama Traore, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and also Patrick Bamford. So Adama Traore, same as last week in the Game Week 2 Ultimate Guide, covered him at 6 million at that midfielder slot. Yet again, Wolves showing their attacking form just by not scoring any goals. They had a ton of shots, a ton of chances created. They just can't finish at all, and that kind of worries me about Adama Traore, because to just kind of get FPL points, you have to either finish the chance or have your teammate finish the chance to get the assist, and that's simply just not happening for Wolves at the moment. But they do have excellent fixtures coming up, so surely if they're getting about 20 shots on target in a fixture, they have to score at least one of them. That's my kind of thinking on Wolves and Adama Traore as a whole, and I just kind of hope over this Game Week 3 fixture against United, maybe they can find their finishing boots, and that'll make him a great option from Game Week 4 onwards, because the Wolves fixtures just look absolutely perfect for a really good run. And you know me, as an FPL manager, I always prefer the kind of fixtures point of view. So with great fixtures come hopefully great FPL points, and I hope that Adama Traore can be in that kind of bracket. The next 2 players from a forward point of view, you guys must remember that I do own Danny Ings currently, and after Game Week 3, Aston Villa's fixtures don't look great at all. So the 2 kind of replacements that I've pinned down for Danny Ings are going to be Dominic Calvert-Lewin from Everton and also Patrick Bamford from Leeds. So first of all, congratulations Patrick Bamford, if you're watching this. Probably won't be, but well done on your international call-up to the England squad for the upcoming international break. So maybe you will see Patrick Bamford kind of really pumped up because he was caught up and has a really good Game Week 3, leading into some really good fixtures for Wolves after that Liverpool fixture in Game Week 4. So with Patrick Bamford, it's probably going to be a wait and see for me. I probably would only bring him in from Game Week 5 onwards, but with that I might actually do kind of a formation switch, go from the 3-5-2 to a 3-4-3, and have kind of a powered forward line of a DCL, Patrick Bamford, and then Antonio as well. Then going on to Calvert-Lewin, similar to kind of a situation with Patrick Bamford, currently monitoring the situation with Danny Ings, but Calvert-Lewin is currently leading a lot of the stats from an attacking point of view. I think he had the most shots on target, the most shots or something in game week 2, so that definitely kind of raises my eyebrows, and I am looking at him from an Everton point of view because the fixtures from Everton do get slightly better in the near future. So I'm looking at Dom as a potential Danny Ings replacement, or as a kind of with Patrick Bamford, might switch up the formation and go for a power 3 up front. The slight annoying thing about Calvert-Lewin is that he has risen in price already, which kind of shows you that form that he is carrying on with. I think this is largely due to him being on penalties that we have discovered after that Leeds fixture in game week 2. I didn't really know that he was going to be on penalties, so that only adds more to him as a player and an FPL option, and that's why I definitely will be considering him when I do look at a forward replacement. On the other hand, Patrick Bamford, can't really congratulate you on a price drop, but that does make you a little more appealing from an FPL point of view, as you do come in slightly cheaper as FPL did value you at. Let me know in the comments down below which players you keep your eyes on. I know that Adama Traore wasn't the best pick last week, but I do think a lot of people are kind of turning to him once they see how good those Wolves fixtures are from game week 4 onwards. So now going on to the big talking point for a big man, it's going to be Lukaku, the Chelsea striker, newly signed, newly actually featured for them on his debut after returning to the club. And he actually managed to score in his debut against Arsenal, and overall just looked like a solid option, not only from a footballing point of view, but also an FPL point of view. And I guess that's why a lot of people are kind of turning their heads, looking at Lukaku, considering him as an essential option going into the upcoming game weeks. And I'm going to give you my 2 cents and what I think I'll personally be doing with Lukaku in my own FPL team. So 11.5 million is slightly more expensive than I thought that he would come in with, but now after seeing the form that he's probably going to have over the upcoming game weeks, I can understand why FPL did price him at that. The one thing that I also wanted to note is don't really look at the projected points from Fantasy Football Fixers algorithm, as I think they are not really considering the form that he will carry into the upcoming games, and I think those predicted points will be uncovered as he kind of racks up more minutes and his stats do look slightly better. But my personal point of view with Lukaku and what I'm going to be doing with him is I'm going to be waiting for game week 7, and then I'll be attacking him and bringing him in with hopefully 2 free transfers as I look to maybe downgrade a Bruno Fernandes to upgrade my forward department to bring in a Lukaku. And the reason why I'm saying game week 7 is just look on the right side of your screen there. The fixtures up until game week 7 don't look that great. He has Liverpool up next and also Man City. So in the next 4 fixtures he faces Man City and Liverpool. And then also added in there we have Spurs, who I don't think are the best kind of defensive side, but I do think on their day they can look quite good. I think the fixture that you really want to target in the next 4 is going to be that Aston Villa fixture, as Villa from a defensive point of view have looked all over the place, and I can honestly see Lukaku kind of bullying Tyrone Mings or Konzo, whoever he is up against. So I think from game week 7 onwards, we kind of have the best of both worlds. We have the great fixtures from a Chelsea point of view, but also we're giving ourselves kind of 4 game weeks to really see if Lukaku is going to be all that. And the one thing to note about Tuchel is that he sometimes likes to rotate. Now, while I don't think he's going to rotate Lukaku after coming in for about 100 odd million, I think he will be nailed in most kind of starting 11s most game weeks. But it's just kind of nice to know that we have given ourselves about 5 game weeks worth of data to analyze it, to kind of decide if he's going to be the real deal or maybe just another option that we consider in our FPL teams. What are you personally doing with Lukaku? I've seen a couple of managers actually bring him in. I know that Mark Southerns was more of a popular manager that brought Lukaku in this week, and I won't lie, after seeing his Arsenal performance, I was really impressed with him, and I thought that I would have to kind of make a plan for him, but I think my plan currently is game week 7 onwards, and I think that's what I'm going to stick with for the current moment. Now going on to the fixture review, and first we're going to be covering the attacking fixtures, and as I always say, this is due to Fantasy Football Fixers Fixture Analyzer, and as far as I know, this is free, so you guys can do a little bit of analysis on the fixtures yourself, and you can do it up until I think game week 10. So I will only be doing it for game week 3, as this is that game week 3 ultimate guide, and starting off with the best attacking fixture, and a little bit of a surprise there, it's going to be Newcastle versus Southampton, and I think this is due to the fact that Newcastle are looking a little bit better from an attacking point of view, but also Southampton, based on last season, probably have one of the worst defenses in the Prem for this upcoming season. So that's why I think the algorithm heavily favors this attacking fixture. So if you guys do own a Newcastle asset, maybe a Callum Wilson, if you are a Gucci owner, I really want to own Gucci somewhere in the season, so maybe game week 3 would be a good time to, but I think I'm personally going to focus on more of the other fixtures, and the second one is probably going to be a little bit more appealing for you guys, and that's going to be Spurs versus Watford. So if you guys are a Heung-min Son owner, maybe a Harry Kane owner, we spoke about him yesterday in the best predicted team, and he's one of the most highest predicted point scorers in Game Week 3, and you can understand when you do see that Watford fixture. So Watford, I do think in Game Week 1 they look quite good, but you must remember that they narrowly won that game 3-2, so they still conceded 2 goals to Aston Villa, and I do think in Game Week 2 against Brighton, they didn't look that great from a defensive point of view. So I think if you do own a Spurs asset, you got to be looking at a captaincy option there, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later on. Then moving on to West Ham versus Crystal Palace, which I'm very happy to see after a new Ben Rama owner. I also own Antonio, so from that attacking side of things, I do really hope that West Ham can have a good performance against Crystal Palace, and at least the algorithm expects them to from an attacking side of things. Then Burnley versus Leeds, which I don't really understand completely, but I think we have seen Leeds not be the best defense at the start of the season, so maybe if you do have a Burnley asset, a Chris Wood or something like that, but I probably would steer away from that. We then get on to the 5th best fixture, which is a little bit surprising for me considering how bad I kind of regard Norwich at. It's that Leicester versus Norwich fixture, and I do think if you still are a Harvey Barnes owner, you should definitely be holding on to him, because if you hold on to him from the price drops, you might as well hold on to him for the Norwich fixture. If you are Jamie Vardy owner, also one of the most highly predicted point scorers in Game Week 3, so that could be an interesting kind of differential option if you want to go for it. And then we also have my boys Aston Villa versus Brentford, and not the team I support, but because I own Buendia and Danny Ings, I think that I do have a slice of Aston Villa support in me at the current moment. So I really do hope that Buendia especially kind of performs against Brentford, as he hasn't been looking that great over the opening 2 game weeks. We then have some more fixtures covering Brighton, Southampton, Norwich and Brentford. Not too many options there that you do own. Maybe only Brentford. If you guys are a Tony owner, that might look like a good fixture for you. And I think that I probably would hold on to Tony at least for one more game week, because Aston Villa as well haven't looked great defensively. Now moving on to the best defensive rating. So what are the teams that are predicted to have the highest chance of basically keeping a clean sheet? First of all, it's going to be Leicester versus Norwich, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with, because I think in terms of Norwich, they usually are more of an attacking side. And because they are playing at home at Carrow Road, I think they're going to put on quite a good show against the Leicester defense that hasn't looked that great. I know that they did face West Ham with only 10 men, but you've got to kind of look at that and think that they might concede against Norwich. So if you are an Amati owner, I don't know if I'd be considering starting him, as I do think that Norwich could maybe find the back of the net at least once on the weekend. West Ham vs Crystal Palace, if you are a Sufal owner, I think that this is probably one of the best chances for a clean sheet of the weekend, as I really do like that West Ham defense, and I don't really think that Crystal Palace have hit the ground running with those new signings. Spurs vs Watford, another popular kind of pick of the algorithm. We saw that with a double up of Lloris and Reguilon in the highest predicted points team yesterday. Brighton, I'm happy to see that from a Sanchez point of view, but I do think Everton are looking quite good, so I wouldn't be banking on a clean sheet. And the rest of the lineup is a little bit tough, so I don't think there's going to be too many clean sheets here on Game Week 3, as I think that most of the attacks are looking quite good, and I think the matchups don't really lead to too many defensive returns, to be honest. So I wouldn't be expecting too much from the defense, and this might be one of the weeks where a cheaper defense actually comes out trumps. So now moving on to the highly anticipated captaincy debate for the upcoming Game Week 3, and I've gone for 3 options here that are my personal favorite. We'll be talking about the fantasy football fix, kind of highest points predicted to score in Game Week 3, but right now my favorite 3 options are going to be Heung-min Son from Spurs, Bruno Fernandes from Manchester United, and finally my personal favorite, Antonio from West Ham. I say my personal favorite because I personally don't own Heung-min Son, but right off the bat, if you guys do own Heung-min Son, I would 100% be captaining him, as I do think he's the best option going into Game Week 3. With Harry Kane, without Harry Kane, I don't think it matters too much. I think the South Korean is definitely the best option to captain, and if you do own Heung-min Son, you might as well captain him now, because when are you going to captain him else when Mo Salah has Chelsea and Bruno Fernandes has Wolves? So my best option to go for, Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, whoever you do own. I probably wouldn't stretch that to someone like a Lucas Moura or Dele Alli, but I think if you own Son or Kane, that is perfectly fine. Bruno Fernandes is a little bit of an interesting one, as I think that this Wolves fixture is actually going to be quite a tough one for United. After coming from a 1-1 draw to Southampton, are going to look to kind of bounce back, but I don't think it's going to be easily done against Wolves. I do expect United to win, but I think it'll be quite a low scoring one. Wouldn't kind of be surprised if it's a replication of Game Week 1 and Game Week 2, where Wolves lost 1-0 to Leicester and also 1-0 to Spurs. I think this might be kind of a 1-0 to United. Hopefully Bruno Fernandes and Greenwood kind of get on the returns, because I do own them, but I wouldn't be kind of banking on too many from Bruno Fernandes, touch wood there. Maybe if you do captain him, you're expecting quite a lot, but that could actually happen. I mean, we have seen stranger things happen in FPL, but on the current basis, I don't think I'll be looking at Bruno Fernandes, although he might be the most highly captained. I think I'm currently leaning towards maybe going with an Antonio, and if I did own a human Son, I would probably look at him. So the final captaincy option, and I said my personal favorite is going to be Antonio, and when you just look at the stats, Antonio kind of leads in every department, and the way that West Ham are playing, especially because this fixture is at home, that is a very important factor over the opening 2 game weeks that we have seen, is that the home teams have been generally doing quite well, and because this fixture is at home for West Ham against Crystal Palace, I'm really banking on Antonio to get on the scoring sheet again, and I think he might even offer an assisting threat as we saw on Monday night. So out of these 3 options, I personally favour Son and Antonio, but I don't think you can go wrong with Bruno Fernandes. If United score, probably going to be on the end of an assist or goal. So I think in terms of safety, if you want to go for a safe option, I think that Bruno Fernandes will be the most highly captained player and therefore the safest option to go for. And now going into the Fantasy Football Fix predicted points tool, I went over to their site and just filtered for Game Week 3 and selected the top 3 options. And these are actually the top 3 options there. I didn't kind of exclude Sadio Mane or anything like that. And it was actually really interesting to see that the algorithm is saying that Mo Salah will be the highest point scorer in Game Week 3, although he is facing Chelsea. So I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but the algorithm does have its stats to back it up. It does have its own kind of way of thinking, but I think that I would kind of be leaning towards more of an Antonio or a Harry Kane or Heung-min Son captain over the Egyptian winger. And that's just because Chelsea have looked quite strong. Now, I do think the reason why the algorithm is predicting this to be quite a high scoring game for Mo Salah is because it is a home fixture. And I think Liverpool at home this season have shown that they look quite good. They have only faced Burnley, to be honest, but I think in the past, if you take the last couple of seasons, for example, I think that Liverpool have been better at home than away, and I think with that Anfield crowd, the cop behind them, I think they're going to be raring to go against Chelsea. I just don't think that this game is going to be that high scoring. That's kind of the only reason why I'm looking at other kind of options in terms of my captain, and I think kind of owning Mo Salah this week is enough courage to go for, as I don't think the ceiling is that high as I mentioned. The next 2 players, though, we do have Antonio that's predicted to score the exact same points as Mo Salah, which is kind of another reason to captain him. I mean, if he's going to be predicted to score the highest points in a certain game week and he will be more of a differential, I 100% can get on the back of that, and I think that Antonio will be my captain going into Game Week 3. The final player, Harry Kane there, this is obviously predicting that he does start, so if Harry Kane does start, it's predicting that he'll be the 3rd highest scorer in Game Week 3 with a favourable fixture against Watford at home. I would also consider Heung-min Son to be in that debate. I would probably put Harry Kane and Heung-min Son on a kind of equal playing field, as both these options have the potential to do well with that lovely fixture in Game Week 3. But this is basically wrap the video, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did, and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. I'll be seeing you guys for a deadline stream prior to Game Week 3. I just don't know when it's going to be, an hour, maybe half an hour. There's probably not too much to talk about for Game Week 3, so I might make it a little bit shorter than usual, but you guys can decide that in the comments down below. And I'll be seeing you guys, as I said, a little bit later on in the week, and hopefully the FPL decisions are locked in, and we're ready to go for another exciting Game Week. I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers. Bye.